Lou, when you guys come off a stretch of defensive performances like the ones that you put together in 3 games in 4 nights, and then you have another stretch here of 3 and 4 coming up, uh, how do you kind of maintain the mentality that you have and kind of that hunger and sharpness that you have on that end?
Yeah, the mentality is to try to do the same thing we've been doing and keep on building and get better. It was a good start, but we have so much more to show. So we just got to stay at it. Watch the film, trying to get better at the stuff that we can get better at, and yeah, improve every time.
You've seen enough of these things ebb and flow like this. What's your perspective on the offense? You guys got amazing shots on the road. They didn't go down, and then against Atlanta, some similar shots and they go down. How do you guys kind of digest that?
Yeah, we just got to trust it and keep trusting the stuff that work. We knew that we got some good looks and we didn't make those shots that we usually make. And the next game we came back and we got the same looks again and we made it. It just felt good. We just got to keep trusting and keep trusting the way we play.
Lou, obviously you've been the kind of defender you are for a while now, but with some of the guys around you, like, are you maybe gambling more these days? Like, is your approach changing at all with some of these guys and their capabilities?
Nah, it's still the same approach. Only thing is I got to get used to, honoring the coverages and stuff like that. Sometimes I'm so into the game and then, I hear a play call and then I don't pay attention to it because I'm so into it and I'm not used to it. So it's a build, and then it's a trust at the same time. I just got to get used to it. But I'm happy to have the guys that we have and be able to play defense like that.
A guy like Kaysen, just what he did in the fourth quarter the other night on Trae Young, just what's your perspective on him and the growth he's had maybe from a year ago?
It's been good. He's improving every time. He's getting more comfortable. He did a great job. And at the end, at the fourth, I was like, bro, you just stay on, keep doing the same stuff that he was doing, and it helped. He got a couple steals at the end, and he got us going.
Yeah, what was your reaction in the moment to him ripping an amazing ball handler out top the way he did?
It was good. I was behind him. I was getting hype in the back. I was like, "Hey, you go ahead. You stay at him." And that's just the improvement that he's been showing every time. Every time he steps on the court, and he's getting way more comfortable. And then we all want him to play like that.
What do you think of Jang's first few games? It's kind of the backup five role.
Us, he's doing his thing. He's getting used to it. It's kind of new for him, but because the guys that he's one of the guys that's willing to step up and then play a different role that he's not used to. He's embracing it. He's trying to get better at it every time, and on the court with him, we're trying to help him as much as we can.
Do you think that yourself, Caruso, and Kaysen kind of feed off of each other defensively?
For sure. I mean, not just us. I feel like it's the whole team. Every time somebody makes a hustle play, and then it just get us going, gets the crowd going, it gets everybody going. So, we know him for making those plays, but it's really the whole team every time they do something like that.
Mark got teed up the other night. Doesn't really get a ton of tees in his career. Does that stuff kind of fire you guys up as well?
I guess, yeah. I mean, we'll let Mark do his thing and handle with the rest and stuff. You know, anytime we know that the ref is not going our way, we'll try our best to not pay attention to them and let the coaching staff handle that. And then Mark said what he had to say, and then the ref didn't like it. It happened, but we just got to keep going and keep playing the way we play.
Now, Lou, how can you explain the differences in you, Alex, and Casey's defensive style?
There's so many, I guess. I can't tell you that actually, but I mean the biggest thing is we hustle and we play hard and we can try to do everything that we can to get a stop for our team and that's the thing that we all have.
Yeah, just thinking about these first 3 matchups for Chet, year 2, it's Jokic, Vucevic, Capella. I mean, those are big physical players. What'd you make of the way that he kind of just, ate up those matchups?
He's taking the challenge. I mean, he's been improving. He's been in the gym, work on his body as well, and the toughness that he always has. So he's just taking the challenge, and he knows that we need him down there. And then whenever they're trying to get physical, he needs to get physical back, and he's been doing a good job of that.
In a lineup to feature, you, Kaysen, and Alex, how are you guys maybe deciding who's guarding what type of player? Like, what are those conversations like?
Well, we'll take turns. Whenever like Kaysen was doing a great job on Trae Young towards the end of the game, so it was all like, Case, you got him, and then we'll just feel it to see how the game goes, and then whenever somebody needs a little break, we'll just communicate on the floor.
A lot of the talk with Chet in year two has been his offensive development. I just wanted to ask you what strides you've seen from him defensively from year one to year two so far.
Honestly, from my side, it's been the same. You know, he's always going to have our backs, especially around the rim. You know, whenever he has to go up and challenge a shot, he'll go do it. But you know, one of the big things that he really got better at is being vocal and then just feeling the game and kind of like knowing what the other team is trying to do, and he's able to communicate that a little early, which is good. But you know, the fairness in the ground that he's always going to protect the rim. He always had that.
Is it unusual to have perimeter and an inside threat defensively like this on an NBA team where guys want to play defense, take pride in it?
I mean, I can't tell about the other team, but just on our part, you know, we want that. You know, we've been working towards that. You know, we spend a lot of time in the gym and practicing on taking pride on on ball defense and the help and everything that that has anything to do about defense. So it's just really us, the thing that we can control, and then we preach that and we want that on ourselves.
Lou, it seemed like your 3-point shooting opened up the game for everybody else on Sunday night. What's that feeling like for you? Just the way that you can read what the team needs on a given night on the offensive end of the floor.
Yeah. I mean, we all know we've been struggling from the 3-point line for the past couple games. We had our conversation. We was in the locker room after one game. It was like, it's gonna fall. You know, we just got to keep trusting it. And I was one of the guys that was saying that as well. So it was my turn that game, and next game it might be somebody else. And but as soon as we just get those type of shots, and we got to shoot them with confidence, we'll be in a good place.
Mark, you guys start with 3 games in 4 nights, and now you've got a stretch of 4 and 6 coming up. How are you just kind of managing the team during this time and making sure you guys are physically, mentally ready for this upcoming challenge?
I mean, we plan it out. Every team in the league goes through stretches like this, so we plan it out ahead of time and rely on our medical performance people, their recommendations in terms of practice timing, what we're doing in practices, and execute that to the best of our ability to make sure that the guys are put in a good position. But we don't really talk much about it because we want to have a no excuse mentality. We want to go out there and be able to fully compete regardless of circumstances.
The numbers defensively for you guys over the first 3 games have certainly been loud, but for you in particular, what has been most encouraging over this stretch on that end of the floor?
Our compete level has been really high, and I understand the numbers have been really good in a very small sample. But what I would say is none of that carries over. It's not like we've established ourselves as a certain level of defensive team. You are the level that you play at every night, so we have to play to that level again tomorrow to be a good defensive team tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
What do you look for early in the season? Is that what you want to see, just the competition? You don't even like shots and stuff like that, but what do you look for in the first, say, 15 games?
Yeah, good question. I mean, it takes discipline to stay simple, because you want to just solve every problem. But we try to keep it to the intentions of the team. Are we competing together? And if we're competing together and we can just get that established as a habit and as a standard, that becomes kind of the North Star we point to. We're not going to stay in a perpetual state of that. No team does in 82 games. But if you can get that right early, it's a great foundation to layer on, and that's what we're really on. And then the fundamentals that ladder up to those things. So competitiveness together, calling a coverage and executing the coverage is how you compete together when the other team's setting a pick and roll. And so the fundamentals that are most closely associated with that are the things that we've emphasized the most in training camp and preseason and what we try to carry into the beginning of the season.
Mark, obviously, guys like Alex and Lou and Kaysen are fairly established defenders by now, but their deflections are way up. Like early on in the season, the way those guys are maybe feeding off each other. Are there conversations about gambling, whether they want to gamble in certain places? Are you having those conversations with them? Are they having those conversations with each other? Like, what's that like?
We never encourage gambling. It's more, let's be solid in our position, let's be solid in our coverages, and then let's be playmakers out of that, or giving them the freedom to be playmakers. We don't even incentivize them to do that. We just let them kind of be playmakers. We coach them on the positioning. We coach them on the execution. If you can get teams playing to their plan B, that's all of a sudden you're putting them at a disadvantage. Now you can kind of feast on that, and that's where the disruption can come in. But if you don't have the positioning or you don't have the execution, and then you're just gambling it recklessly, you'll hemorrhage points pretty quickly. regardless of how good your personnel is.
Mark, after the defensive start that you got, Lou came over here and he was talking about, development point for him that he wants to work on more, which is um, kind of honoring play calls defensively, and he's knowing how visceral of a competitor he is defensively. Can you maybe explain or shed a little bit more light on that development point for him?
Well, his existence for a lot of his career early it was kind of like he's the stopper. He's got the matchup. We're keeping Lou on the matchup. We're keeping one of the things that our versatility is allowing us to do right now is be a little bit more switchy, be a little bit less matchup dependent, and gain advantages in other ways as a defense. But it's gonna force him to evolve as an off ball player, as a shell player, as an honoree of coverages like he's mentioning. But if he can do that, there was a time last night where somebody else had Young. We were denying Young the ball. The ball comes out to one of the secondary players. No offense to those guys, but secondary to Young for them, and Lou's guarding that guy. And now that guy's trying to make a play, and now one of your best defenders, your best perimeter defender, is locked in on not Trae Young. It's because you can have somebody else on him. It's that kind of stuff that we can unlock. But we all have to be good at everything, and he needs to be good at some of the things that haven't been his primary responsibility defensively to this point.
Mark, obviously, with Dylan sending him to the Blue, recalling him, obviously that's something you did last year and have done in the past. I just wonder what's the plan for him in the early season, and what are you hoping he gets out of these I guess the time with the Blue?
That was just for today because because of the schedule Nick's talking about, today's practice wasn't overly punchy. We went mostly against coaches today, and they had a high intensity practice, and he hasn't played a ton of minutes yet. We also haven't allowed a lot of development time because of the travel and stuff like that within our walls. And so we just thought in a vacuum today he was going to get more out of going there, getting a better burn just for his loading and conditioning, and then he'll be right back with us tomorrow.
About AJ Mitchell, he got in the early rotation against the Hawks. You seeing good things out of him early? Is that just taking a look? What's he?
No, seeing good things. I mean, we like all of our guys. I would put all of our guys in the game, but we like what we're seeing there so far. I mean, he's competing first of all, and then on the offensive end of the floor, he's just a really cerebral player. He understands. He doesn't only have great instincts, but he also understands globally what's going on the court at a very, very high level for a guy with as little experience as he has. He's also gotten better very quickly. And so usually when people show that type of quick improvement, it shows that they have a trajectory that is worth exploring. And so everybody's track is different. We've talked about Oos, and Oos took a long time, to get himself to a physical baseline. So that doesn't make him better than anybody. Everybody's developmental track is different, but he's proving to be very ready, game ready right now. And we're honoring that. We're getting him out there because we're going to need him.
Back to the Lou point that you were making, he's a guy that's done things a certain way for a long time, been extremely successful at that. What's this like for you as a coach, for him to have this other developmental challenge laid in front of him and seem to be, very eager to eat that up?
I just think it speaks to the fact that no one's a finished product. I mean, he's got a lot of miles on the car, despite still being a pretty young player. I mean, he's not 35 years old, but he does have a lot of miles on the car, and yet your team's different every year. You have different personality. Players evolve in different ways, and players have to evolve with it. And it doesn't matter how much experience you have. So Shea's evolving and learning how to play optimally on this team. Lou is a guy like Caruso, who obviously everybody respects and is 30-something years old. He's learning. He's learning the system. He's learning his teammates. He's learning a lot of different things. And so we want to have that mindset. We want to be a developmental program, not only for the guys that are 19, but for everybody. We want people to get better here.
That in mind, there was a play against Atlanta where Isaiah Joe, little side pick and roll, seemed like a random one with Jang, and he just slips that little bounce pass through. I mean, didn't feel like a play he would make last year. What do you make of his continued development as a rounded offensive player?
Yeah, he did it twice. I mean, he had the one for the dunk, and then he had another one where Oos skipped it. We extraed to Wiggins. Wiggins shot faked and made a three. So he generated 5 points on that. It was one thing we talked about with him in the offseason, and that we've emphasized a little bit here is, teams really react to him when he comes off of screens. And so he can get two on the ball pretty pretty readily, and if he can get good at, you know, using his dribble to stay on the 3-point line, if they don't jump out there with you, shoot it. That happened once in front of our bench. Young was behind him and he shot what looked like a contested shot, but for him, it's a good one. And then if they jump another guy out there, make the primary play, and that's what he did with the Jang plays. So he's quietly, again, another guy that's very reliable, who has obviously established a great baseline in the NBA, but he continues to get better.
Mark, I don't. Go ahead. There's a lot of league-wide expectation of this team, obviously, but people forget they're still the youngest team in the league.
Yep.
And they've shown a lot of resilience, especially on Sunday. What are you most proud of just with this team early in the season?
I mean, I've always had great admiration for the team. That's not new. I've spoken at length about how much I admire our players. But we, more so than pride or we just have to get really, really locked into improving and understanding we have 79 games left. If we were 0-3 right now, we'd still have 79 games left. That's a large portion of the season. And it's way too early to rest on anything, or put anything in stone. Your weaknesses 3 games into the season can be changed. Your strengths don't carry over. We just need to improve every single day through every single experience, and have a habit of doing that throughout the course of a season. And if you do that, you can be a better team at the end of the year than you are at the beginning. And that's our goal every year.
Mark, with Chet, I don't know that he's played an absurd amount of minutes game to game so far, but obviously that's a guy that's adamant about playing every game if he can. Just how intentional are you being about his minutes, the minute long, especially with some of the injuries in the front court?
I mean, with all the guys' minutes, I try to be aware of the schedule. I try to be aware of game context. So he was 3rd and 4 nights the other night. Dub was low in the first half. He was lower in the first half, I believe. Shea was higher. Those were conscious decisions in the game, but I always try to counterbalance that so that we're not just riding 40 minutes every single night. You know what I mean? With that said, these guys are young players, and one of the benefits of having young players is they can go. You know what I mean? They don't need to be bubble wrapped either. So, I'm aware of the context, and we certainly try to be wise with the decisions that we make. But at the same time, guys can play, and if they can play, they can be out there.
You see on San Antonio, certainly for them too, about their team tomorrow.
I haven't watched them yet, to be full disclosure. I'll watch a little bit more today, but just a team that traditionally plays with great pace and puts a lot of pressure on you up the floor and side to side, and you got to really start your defense the right way against them. If you're behind the ball against that team, then you can be in trouble. I thought that was the way Chicago's trying to play right now. That was the first half the other night. We did a really good job of getting back and settling the game. And they didn't run as well later in that game as they did early, and that's how you can kind of shut that off. But against San Antonio, that's critical. And then Wembanyama, you have to account for on both ends of the floor because of his size, and especially on defense with the rim protection. And so being conscious about moving him around and putting them in difficult spots is going to be key.